All right, we are live. What is up, fight nerds and dirty gamblers? I am Erik, and this is Erik Bets Fights. Welcome to my full card betting breakdown for UFC 277, headlined by the title rematch between Juliana Pena and Amanda Nunes. Thanks for bearing with me today, folks. This is going to be a weird episode of the show. This is going to be like the quickest breakdown video I've ever done, simply because I won't get into the details too much, but y'all know, all those of you who've watched me for a while anyway, know that I do a lot of content creation. I do a lot of tape study, but I'm also just a regular guy who has a family and a full-time job and stuff. And I also am a neurodivergent human being who has a really hard time, managing my time and managing my life and being organized. So I'm still trying to figure out like a schedule that works for me as far as like setting alarms on my phone, and like when this alarm goes off, I need to do some tape study. When this alarm goes off, I need to record this video, etc., which might sound like a lot, but that's the kind of thing that works for me. Otherwise, I just lose track of everything. So anyway, my point being that my wife needs to use the office for a meeting in 33 minutes. And this is the only time today that I've got to get this video done, so it's going to be a little bit rapid fire style. First, we're going to do a very quick recap of my bets from the last card, UFC London. Oh, whoops, I was going to share my screen. I was not as prepared for this as I hoped to be. Just 1 second. There we go. Hopefully you can see that. I'll do a real quick breakdown here. Obviously, this was a really chalky card, so I ended up doing a lot of parlaying. I think a lot of people did. The only money line plays I had were Paddy Pimblett and Volkan Oezdemir, so obviously those two both hit. I've been saying lately that I've been trying to stick more to money line plays and parlays because that's where I do my best work, and props are where I kind of mess it all up. But we know I'm a little bit of a degen, and so at the last minute I end up throwing props in and screwing it all up. But anyway. I'm not going to go through every single bet, but we did hit a parlay of Diakese, Wood, and Mokaev. That one hit. We had Jones, Oezdemir here. Obviously, Jones was the big parlay buster for a lot of people, I think, so that one didn't hit for us. Had a parlay of Diakese and Wood. That was the one I went 3 units on. That was the one I felt good about, so luckily that one hit. Had a 6-legger here that just about hit, but Jones messed it up for us. That 6-legger was only plus 356, but then I had a 1, 2, 3, 4. I had a 5-legger where I went really risky. I put only 0.2 units on that one. So we got Oezdemir, who was minus 155 favorite, Hermanson plus 100, Leonardo minus 105, Amir Khani plus 160, and Blaydes plus 130. So that was the one where I was like, plus 37.41. That's a pretty nice number. If Amir Khani would have won, we would have had a nice little win there. But anyway, we do end up in the green with 1.6 units, so you're not going to hear me complain too much about that. Could have been a bigger win if Mason Jones would have won, but we're in the green, and we feel good about that. We're going to go ahead and jump into the breakdowns now. Like I said, it's going to be a little bit rapid fire because I need to get through these pretty quickly, but I also just don't know, some of these fights I just don't have a great read on anyway. So, and when that's the case, I'm always just going to tell you straight up that that's the case. Since this is going to be kind of quick and I'm not going to get as deep into the breakdowns, though, be aware of this. There will be other opportunities for you to get more of my information if you want to have slightly deeper thoughts, some of my deeper thoughts on some of this stuff. I did do a guest spot on the Punch List MMA podcast last night. That's available anywhere podcasts are, anywhere that you download podcasts. Just search Punch List MMA. That'll come up. It's one of the biggest MMA betting podcasts out there, so it will be easy to find. You can also find it on their YouTube page, Punch List MMA, and you should be supporting those guys anyway. They're awesome. They do a great job. Really, it's a very insightful show, and it's also a very funny show. It's just it's a good show, and I was honored to be a part of it, so make sure to check them out. And we did go through and kind of break down the whole card, so you can get more of my thoughts there. Isn't it lame how when I say I'm gonna go fast, I still just blab and blab and blab? I can't help it. And somebody commented on my video last week, I actually don't mind. Somebody said I don't mind the blabbing and rambling, so somebody's encouraging me there a little bit. But anyway, first fight up, we've got Orion Cosce versus Blood Diamond. Cosce is a favorite at minus 165. Comeback on Blood Diamond plus 135. I also want to add that a lot of times these odds that show up on Tapology are not super accurate, so that may not be. I've seen Cosce for minus 170, minus 175, that kind of thing. So sometimes these aren't super accurate, but he should be somewhere in that range. This is a fight where a lot of people seem to be really confident on Cosce to just be able to go there, take Blood Diamond down. Obviously, Blood Diamond's a kickboxer. He's a guy who's only got 4 MMA fights now, I guess. Doesn't seem to be a particularly well-rounded MMA fighter. He's pretty much just a kickboxer who's fighting MMA. Not to oversimplify it, but and I posted on Twitter because I was thinking, like, am I the only one who doesn't necessarily think that Cosce's going to have that it's going to be a walk in the park for him? Because if you watch the Jeremiah Wells fight, Jeremiah Wells obviously ran roughshod over Blood Diamond once he got him down, but he struggled to get him down. It took him almost 2 minutes of clinching and working to get him down. But then some people on Twitter pointed out to me, yeah, but Jeremiah Wells, he really just grabbed the body lock and was muscling it pretty much. You know, it wasn't a terribly technical series of takedown attempts. And I guess I can agree with that. You know, he definitely wasn't like changing levels, looking for a single, looking for a high crotch, running the pipe, any of that kind of stuff. So, you know, Cosce is somebody who is, going to be a better, not a better grappler than Jeremiah Wells, but a better wrestler probably. So, but the thing that concerns me a little bit here is everybody seems to be on Cosce. Everybody seems to be confident in Cosce. Then why is his line still sitting at like -170? It doesn't make sense to me. Something seems a little off there. So I may, after hearing how confident a bunch of people on Twitter were, a bunch of people, not that like, oh, a bunch of people on Twitter, you know, people whose opinions I respect, of course, too. But, I started kind of leaning toward like, okay, well, if so many people are confident in Cosce and he's a guy who should probably be more like a -250 favorite here or something, then I should probably take a shot at him at -170. So don't be surprised if that bet does end up on my bet slip, but it is not there yet. But yeah, I will pick Orion Cosce. You know, he should be able to get, if he's able to get the takedowns, and even if he can't get it early, as long as Blood Diamond's not able to, land shots and get Cosce out of there, then as the fight wears on, I would think that Cosce should be able to wear Blood Diamond down, grind him against the cage until he is able to get those takedowns, and should be able to finish him, should be able to get him out of there with either a submission or ground and pound, probably ground and pound. Next up, I don't even know for sure if I've got the bouts in the right order here, but next up we've got Negumereanu versus Ihor Potieria at 205. Negumereanu is +25 dog. Potieria is -145. This is a spot where, if you're a believer in the Contender Series fade, which I got to give Clint from the Die Hard MMA podcast credit for that. That's kind of his thing, is that if a fighter off the Contender Series is coming in and fighting a UFC veteran and the Contender Series is favored, you just blindly bet that veteran at plus money. Negumereanu, I mean, he's had a handful of UFC fights. He's not particularly high level, but he's also fighting in a weight class where you don't have to be particularly high level. Despite him not having particularly high level skills, he is a guy who will fight for your money. He's a dog. He can go 15 hard minutes. He will go 15 hard minutes. When push comes to shove, I think Ihor is probably a better fighter. He's more athletic. I think he's technically better, but he's fought a very low level of competition. He has gone to decision a few times, but against really low level guys who are like 0-0, 0-3, 2-3, stuff like that. So it is a big step up in competition for him here. So this is a spot I'm staying away from, simply because if these guys had the same, like if Ihor was a guy who also had, 3 or 4 UFC level fights, I'd be Ihor all day, I think, because I do think he's probably technically the better fighter. But the step up in competition versus a guy like Negumereanu, who's comfortable in the octagon and who will fight hard for your money, it's a stay away from me, because it's a show me spot for Ihor Potieria. I just want to see what he's capable of against slightly higher competition. So I'm staying away from this one. As far as a pick, man, I don't know. I can't remember who I picked on Punch List yesterday. I'm going to pick Ihor. I think Ihor gets it done. Next up, we've got Ji-Yeon Kim versus Jocelyn Edwards. Ji-Yeon Kim, small underdog at +115. Jocelyn Edwards at -140. This is a spot where I do sort of feel like the wrong fighter is favored. I think Ji-Yeon Kim is the better fighter. I haven't bet anything on this yet. I will have to bet it for the She's a Dog project, which if you want to check that out, you can go to betmma.tips/She's a Dog, and dog is spelled D-A-W-G. So it's just SHESADAWG. For that project, what I'm doing is I'm blindly betting every underdog in every women's UFC fight. Doesn't matter who it is, doesn't matter what the line is. I'm betting the underdog 1 unit just to track over time whether that ends up being a profitable angle. Because for the first half of 2022, it was. I pulled the numbers and crunched the numbers, so to speak, in a spreadsheet. And if you had blindly bet the underdog in every women's UFC fight from January 1st to the beginning of July, you would have been up. If you would have put $100 on each one, you would have been up like $982 or something like that, almost $1,000. So it has been a profitable angle so far. Anyway, I think Ji-Yeon Kim. One thing to note about Ji-Yeon Kim, she's 5'7", but her reach is 6 feet. So she has an excellent reach for her size. She has better volume. She has better output than Edwards. She's a better technical striker, a better technical boxer. If you watch Edwards' last fight against Ramona Pascual, my girl, Jocelyn Edwards, she largely just threw front kicks to the gut and side kicks to the legs. She was using her kicks to keep distance, and then every so often she would explode forward with like maybe a 3 or 4 punch combo. So she was more so using that method of exploding and resetting, whereas Ji-Yeon Kim is more so the kind of fighter who will keep strikes out there. She's got a nice snappy jab. She'll keep her jab out there. She'll keep the 1-2 out there, that kind of thing. So I do lean Ji-Yeon Kim here, probably by decision, but it's not a fight that I'm betting except for the She's a Dog project, because I'll have to. But anyway. Next up, we've got Michael Morales versus Adam Fugitt at welterweight. Morales is a huge favorite here, minus 625. I think he's even up at minus 650 or higher in spots. Fugitt is plus 425 as the underdog. I watched some tape on Fugitt. I wasn't really familiar with who he is at all. I watched his fight versus Solomon Renfro, which he knocked out Solomon Renfro in 43 seconds, which sounds impressive on paper. If you watch the fight, it really wasn't very impressive. Fugitt has some striking skills. He has some power, but in that fight, he spammed left head kick, left cross. He's a southpaw, so that's his power side. The left head kick, left cross, left head kick, left cross. He did it like literally a dozen times in 40 seconds. It was weird. I did watch some of his older tape as well. He's got solid Muay Thai skills. He's also got some wrestling and grappling skills. He's a guy who has some solid skills, but I'm not necessarily convinced that he's ready for the UFC level. He's coming in late notice here. That said, I do think the number is a little crazy. Michael Morales does seem to be the real deal. He is pretty good, but he is only 23 years old. He's a little bit green yet. He still kind of makes some green mistakes. This is a spot I'm staying away from. If I was going to bet it, like if I could get a crazy, I haven't looked if props have dropped on this fight yet today. They hadn't last I checked, at least on my book. I use Bet Online for my props, which doesn't have as good a number for props as DraftKings and FanDuel. But since I live in Nevada, I can't use DraftKings and FanDuel, but that's another story for another day. If I could get like a big number on Adam Fugitt by KO, I might sprinkle it. But, I do think the line's wide, but Michael Morales should win here. He's the better fighter. And like I said, Fugitt has fought lower level competition and coming in on short notice. But I wouldn't hate a shot on like a KO prop for him or something. And it would be something I'd be sprinkling like 0.1, 0.2 units on just for the heck of it. But yeah, Morales should win this one. Next up, we've got Drakkar Klose versus Rafa Garcia. Drakkar Klose, pretty decent sized favorite at minus 225. Rafa Garcia at plus 185. I don't have a lot of thoughts for you on this fight. As far as a pick, I think Drakkar Klose by decision is kind of what I'm leaning toward here. I was interested in looking at his decision prop, but it was like minus 125, and I don't love that. I did just bet I don't usually like to bet a decision prop with a minus sign in front of it. I did it last week, I think, I bet Nathaniel Wood by decision at minus 150, which is one of my favorite bets on the card, and that one did hit, but I felt a lot better about that one than I do about Drakkar Klose here. But Drakkar Klose, he's the kind of guy who he can get a grinding style going. He can kind of push you up against the cage, wear on you, that kind of thing. He should be able to get that kind of style going here. Rafa Garcia is a guy who is capable of really, really explosive moments of offense at times. He has these explosive moments of violence. He's a guy who can get a knockout. He's a guy who can get a club and sub. But yeah, I lean toward Klose by decision here. But he's at that minus 225. He's at that odds range where people are going to be parlaying him, because a lot of times people just kind of, especially more casual bettors, they just kind of look at the card and they grab like, people in the like minus 200 to like minus 300 type range tends to be the parlay range, I think. So people probably will be parlaying him, but I'm not going to myself. Next fight in the heavyweight division, we've got Don'Tale Mayes versus Hamdi Abdelwahab. I don't know if you all have watched tape on Hamdi Abdelwahab. He is not good. He wrestled in the 2016 Olympics in Rio for Egypt. which cool. He was in the Olympics, but I can't imagine Egypt has a super, they're not exactly known for their wrestling programs there. I can't imagine they have super high level wrestling. Obviously a powerful athletic guy. If you look at him, he's bricked up. He throws heavies when he gets in there, but all the tape I was able to watch on him, he doesn't even wrestle. He comes out and tries to, and looks to throw big haymakers. I watched an amateur fight of his and he got taken down easily by like a scrub amateur guy. I can't remember the dude's name, Corey Newman or something like that. But a guy, who only had amateur fights and did not have a good record was able to take this guy down, this Olympic wrestler. And so, Hamdi, if he does, he's going to be, Tapology lists him at 6'3". There's no way it shows 6'2" now here. Okay, so they might have updated. I don't even think he's 6'2". Honestly, I think he's 6 feet, 6'1" maybe. I think when they square off at the weigh-ins, Don'Tale Mayes is going to be much, much bigger. Don'Tale Mayes isn't very good either. He's the kind of fighter who, if he was in any other weight class, he wouldn't be in the UFC. He doesn't really have UFC level skills, except arguably at heavyweight. But Hamdi Abdelwahab is going to probably come out. He's probably going to throw some big overhand rights. He might look to wrestle. If he does look to wrestle, could he take Don'Tale Mayes down? He probably can. Maybe. I mean, he's going to be undersized here, but even if he can take Mayes down, I don't think he's going to be able to hold him down for long periods of time. I don't think he's going to be able to dominate him or stop him with ground and pound. I think Mayes will be able to get back up. And even if the fight goes long, Mayes is just going to take over, I think. Mayes is currently sitting at -150 with Hamdi at +125. Mayes was available at plus money at one point, and I wish that I would have jumped on that when I could have. I did bet Mayes at -140. Mayes is actually the only tracked bet I have on this card so far. There are some spots I'm looking at, but that's, after finishing the tape, this is the only spot I felt good enough about to pull the trigger. Next up, we've got Drew Dober versus Rafael Alves at lightweight. Dober at -220, Alves +180. So yeah, this is another spot. He's in that sweet spot for parlaying. People are likely going to parlay him up here. Rafael Alves is a guy who is, extreme. In a way, I compare this fight to Dober's last fight against Terrence McKinney, in that he's going to have to deal with some difficult spots early. He's dealing with somebody who likes to go out there hard and get that fast finish. The difference being that Terrence McKinney cranks it up to 11 right away and doesn't crank it down until he's either dead tired or you're out of there. He just go. Rafael Alves will go a little bit and he chills. It's not just like constant, but he does, he looks to, I think this was the fighter. When I do numerous shows a week, I get confused. Like, did I already say this? I think last night on Punch List, I compared Rafael Alves to that old fight between Vitor Belfort and Vanderlei Silva, where Vitor literally runs across the octagon throwing punches like this. That's what Rafael Alves will do. He'll run at you and throw punches, and then he kind of chills and rests for a while. So Dober's probably going to have to deal with some difficult spots early, but this could be a good live betting spot, because if Alves, Alves might even drop him in that first round. He might hurt him. If that happens and Alves has a big first round, you might get a better line on Drew Dober going into round 2. And then I think we'll start to see Dober take over, because Dober is he's the more technical, more buttoned up striker here. He has the kind of style that if you're the crazy aggressive guy who comes out with those big aggressive flurries, he's the kind of guy who has the technique and the mindset and the wherewithal to find the openings in that and crack you. So like the longer the fight goes, I think it leans in Dober's favor. So I do like Dober here, but I don't love his number. So I'm going to wait and treat this as a live betting spot, I think. All right, I got to be done in like 15 minutes. We're going to hurry it up a little bit. Next up, we've got Alex Morono versus Matt Semelsberger. Morono's the underdog at +135. Semelsberger, the favorite, at -165. My take on this fight, my simple explanation is that I think the athleticism of Semelsberger is kind of going to be the difference here. The way I described this fight on Punch List is it's kind of a martial artist versus an athlete, and I'm oversimplifying there, and I don't mean to offend either guy, but I think if they were both occupying the same body, if they both if Matthew Semelsberger was fighting Matthew Semelsberger's body with Alex Morono's brain in it, the one with Morono's brain in it is probably going to win. I think Morono is the better martial artist. I think he's the more technical, more skilled fighter, but Semelsberger just he's got speed. He's got power. He's the kind of guy who could probably he was a 3-sport athlete in high school. He played football in college. He probably could have picked any sport and excelled at it because he's just very athletic. So I do kind of lean toward thinking that the athleticism of Semelsberger is going to be enough to get him through here. Could he finish Morono? Maybe. I lean toward thinking it goes to decision, but this is a fight that is a stay away from me at the moment. Next up, we've got Magomed Ankalaev versus Anthony Smith at light heavyweight. Ankalaev is minus 500. He's even up at minus 600 in spots with the comeback on Anthony Smith plus 380. I think on my book, Anthony Smith is more like plus 425, plus 450, something like that. I'm going to keep it simple and quick here. This is a spot where, yes, Magomed Ankalaev should win. I do think he's the better fighter. However, I don't think he's the better fighter by orders of magnitude big enough to justify that minus 500, minus 600 price tag, to be honest. I think this fight probably goes to decision, and I think it could play out pretty closely. Not, maybe not split decision close, maybe, but like close enough that I don't think, if you've got a bet on Ankalaev at like minus 600, I don't think you're going to come away from this fight feeling like you covered that price tag, feeling like you made a good safe investment. That's just my take on it. Anthony Smith is a dog. Anthony Smith is tough. He's a good grappler. He's very good at finishing. I mean, he's got, I guess I always forget this right in front. He's got like over 50 fights. He's got 36 wins, and if I'm not mistaken, he's finished like 32 of those or something. He is a finisher. He goes out there and he finishes people, and that's why I don't have it in front of me at the moment, but Ankalaev by decision can be had for, was it like minus 115 or something like that? I forget, but that's a spot that I do have some interest in. And Anthony Smith, sorry, I had these notes in front of me here. Anthony Smith by KO was at like plus 900. Anthony Smith by sub was at like plus 1600. I don't think those are likely outcomes, and obviously the numbers show that. But that Anthony Smith by sub at plus 1600 is something I might sprinkle. But yeah, for the most part, unless I'm going to take a shot on those underdog props for Smith, Ankalaev should win, but you can't really touch that minus 500, minus 600 price tag. Maybe could consider that Ankalaev by decision, like I mentioned, because Smith is pretty tough and should be able to survive to the bell here. Next up, we've got Alexandre Pantoja versus Alex Perez, and this is a fight. I joked on Punch List that like when I watch tape on flyweights, I always have they're so fast that I always have a hard time getting a good read. Not always, but a lot of the time I do. I watch it and I'm just like, it's almost like they're moving so fast that I just like my old slow brain can barely even keep up with which guy is which. And I just kind of get like, I go into a daze and I'm just like, I don't know who to pick in this fight, but a lot of people are confident on Pantoja. And Dale kind of convinced me last night that Pantoja at minus 180 only shows minus 160 here. I don't know if he's still available at that line. But a lot of people seem to like him at that line. And after hearing Dale talk about it, I was like, all right, I don't mind a shot on Pantoja here. So I haven't put a bet on him yet, but I might do that. But this is a fight where I just don't feel like I have any insight for you. So I'm not going to pretend I do. And I'm just going to move on to the next one because I need to finish it up here anyway. Next up, we've got a heavyweight fight that should be a lot of fun between Derek Lewis and Sergey Pavlovich. Just about even here. Okay, this shows Lewis at minus 105, Pavlovich at minus 115. I know last night Pavlovich could be had, it's going to vary a little bit from book to book, of course. Pavlovich could be had for like minus 135 and Derek Lewis like plus 115, something like that. This is a spot that I'm not really sure what to do with it. Derek Lewis is 37, isn't even really that old for a heavyweight, but he's got a lot of fight miles on him. He's a guy who I think can be sort of mentally taken out of the fight pretty easily. I'm not trying to get too deep into the conspiracies, but I have my doubts that he was actually knocked out cold against Tai Tuivasa. He was hurt very badly. He was done. He was finished. But I sort of think, don't light me up in the comment. Actually, you can if you want, but I sort of think if you watch that footage of him getting knocked out there, I think he sort of just, well, you know what? This hurts. This guy's hitting me really hard, and I think I'm just going to be done here. Sort of the way I've been describing this fight is one thing that Derek Lewis is really good at is hitting people really hard. One thing that he's not so good at is handling getting hit really hard by someone else. He doesn't like it, especially to the body. And Sergey Pavlovich is a guy that probably is going to hit him really hard at some point in the fight, right? And my concern is if that happens, is that going to take Derek Lewis out of his game? Is he going to just decide? Because he's a guy who's motivations are kind of all over the place. I don't know how long he's been in the UFC, probably 10 years or something like that now, but way back when he was first in the UFC, he used to say that the only reason he was even fighting was to pay off his house. He had some things he wanted to do, and as soon as he got that done, he didn't talk about I want to be the champion, that sort of thing. I mean, obviously that was a long time ago, and his motivations and that sort of thing have probably changed some since then. But he is a guy that I think can sometimes decide that he's just gonna walk through the door when he feels like it's open. He's gonna take that exit when it's there, and so yeah, this is a fight that I'm staying away from for now. I don't mind maybe looking at that -1.5, but I think the odds are about right as a coin flip. Like, Derek Lewis is always dangerous. He's always going to have those moments where he's dangerous. But if I have, gun to my head, if I have to pick, I'm picking Pavlovich to get the finish here. But yeah, I'm not super confident either way on that one. All right, just a couple minutes left. Brandon Moreno versus Kai Kara-France. It's a rematch. Moreno at -200, Kai Kara-France at +170. This is a fight where, to put it simply, I watched the tape and I didn't necessarily see a reason to feel that the fight's going to go a whole lot differently than how it went last time. Kai Kara-France is dangerous. He's got a lot of power. He can drop you. He can hurt you. He can finish you. Brandon Moreno is extremely tough, extremely hard to put away. Brandon Moreno's got some size and some reach here. A 3.5-inch reach advantage, which when you're talking about guys that are like 5'4" to 5'7", that's a big reach advantage. When you're talking about heavyweights who are like 6'5" or something, it's not as much, but 3.5-inch reach advantage is pretty big here. So I think Moreno is going to be able to, largely strike from distance, keep Kai Kara-France on the outside and that sort of thing. Kai Kara-France probably will have his moments. He probably will catch Moreno. He probably will hurt him, but unless he can put him away, I don't think the fight's going to go a whole lot differently than how it went last time. And I think Moreno probably wins a decision here. And that brings us to the final fight, Juliana Pena versus Amanda Nunes, the rematch. Obviously, the first fight was a little weird, and I think the breakdown of this fight, as far as trying to cap this fight, it largely, for me, comes down to the question, what happened to Amanda Nunes in that first fight? It comes down to, what is your opinion of why she lost that fight? And if you're able to answer that question in a way that you're comfortable with and confident in, what happened to Amanda Nunes? How much did Juliana Pena have to do with causing it? And is it something that's replicable? I'd lean toward thinking that Nunes may have taken the fight a little bit more lightly than she should have. I think she thought she was going to get Pena out of there in round 1. And when she didn't, she tired herself out a little bit, maybe got in her own head a little bit, came out in round 2. Pena starts landing those punches on her, and I hate, like, my fat ass who's never been in a fight in my life sitting here saying this about Amanda Nunes, the greatest women's MMA fighter of all time, but I think she quit. I think she quit on herself. She started getting punched. People talk about that being one of the funniest and most embarrassing sequences in MMA history, when Pena is just clipping with that jab, just clipping Nunes over and over again, and it's like Nunes just doesn't know what to do about it. She's like, this woman is punching me. Like, oh, she keeps doing it. And like, she doesn't seem to know what to do. Like, I just think her head was out of the game. I think she'd kind of given up at that point. Once Pena got Nunes to the ground and got on her back, Nunes just tapped. She took the exit. And it comes down to whether you think Pena can replicate that performance. And I'm going to lean toward thinking that she can't. I'm going to lean toward thinking that Nunes will find a way to get Pena out of there within the first couple rounds. But if she can't, I think this fight gets interesting again. If it goes long, I think it starts to lean Pena's way. So it's another fight that might be a good spot. I'm staying away from it. I don't like the number. It's not quite enough on Pena that I want to take a shot on her, and it's a little bit too big of a number on Nunes to take a shot on her, in my opinion. But if the fight goes long, and I think we see Nunes do well early, and then we might get a better number on Pena moving forward from there. So that's all I've got for you on that one. I'm going to pick Nunes. It's not a confident pick. This is the part where I normally pull up my bets for the card and show them to you. All I've got is Don'Tale Mayes. I've got 1.4 units on him at -140 to win 1 unit. I probably will be posting more bets, so make sure to find me on Twitter at Erik Bets Fights. Find me on betmma.tips at it's betmma.tips/erikblock. That's ERIKBLOCK. That is where I will be posting my bets, and my wife needs to use the room in just a couple minutes here to do her meeting. So we're going to call it right there. Thank you so much for watching the video, folks. Please give me a like. Right, whether you're watching this video will be posted on the Erik Bets Fights page and the Never Hedge Media page, whichever one you're watching on. Please do like it. Please do subscribe to the page. That helps us out a lot. Leave a comment. That helps us to get the algorithm going. As always, folks, I am Erik with Erik Bets Fights, reminding you to play it smart, play it tight, and let's grow those bankrolls. I hope you all enjoy the fights this weekend at UFC 277. Take care, everybody, and have a good one.